Hello and welcome. This is Cosmo Greninja, and this is our tier list play, well, video on starters. I'm going to take a kind of a break from the generations. The next episode will be about Generation um, 3, I believe. That's where we left off. Generations 3, 4, and 5. So, look forward to those. I'm doing each individually generation by itself. So, I'm merging two generations. Um, everyone seems like so that's what we're doing. But this is to kind of break the monotony here a little bit. Now, these are all based off of my opinion, and this goes up to Generation 8. Um, no, Generation 9's in here. Sorry. Generation 9 is in here. And so is the evolved forms of the Legends Arceus. Okay. I'm not going to do Megas. As Megas is just not really part of the starters are their own thing. And I'd rather do those separately. So at this time, we're just going to do the starters. Now, I'm going to start with Generation 1. Um, for me, the Bulbasaur line was okay. It wasn't my favorite, it wasn't my hated, but it was okay. I chose Squirtle. I was a big fan of Wartortle, and I kept Wartortle for the longest time before I evolved into Blastoise. I liked Wartortle. Eevee is okay. There are some evolutions, Eevee evolutions I like. Pikachu exists. I, I'm, I was never a big fan of Pikachu. I mean, yeah, he learns a lot of great electric moves. He has some great, but I always opted for other Pokemon that can learn electric moves just so I wouldn't have to have them on my team. I really did. From Haunter all the way to the latest generation where I can use what's that Pokemon called in Generation 9? The electric one. Oh, I forgot its name and it's on my team. I like it. Um, I can't believe I can't remember this name of this Pokemon. It'll come to me in a moment. But regardless, um, no, Vikavolt was its Generation 8. It's that bug that evolves. That's what came to mind. It's the owl Pokemon. Called. Anyways, that's the Pokemon I like. It's gonna bother me now like crazy. I was just playing that game last night. Anyways, we're gonna move on. Charmander at one time would have been in the okay section for me, but they have shoved this thing down our throat for generations now, since Generation 6, and I am sick of it. I am just utterly, completely sick of Charizard. Sick. I'm tired of it. I grew up with Generation 1. For me to be tired of a Generation 1 Pokemon says a lot, and it's sad. Because, mm, like, you have no idea how annoyed I am with that particular Pokemon. Like, seriously, you do not need to put him in every game. There are other starters from other games that are just as good, that are just as impressive. and frankly deserve just as much of attention. I don't think I'm gonna think of the name of that bird. It's gonna drive me crazy. Um, but regardless, moving on. Charizard is just, and I know this is gonna make a lot of people upset because they are huge Charizard fans, and that is your preference. That is your opinion. Your right to be Charizard fans, and you probably use Charizard on every one of your teams since Generation One. You find a way to make him on your team, and you go with it, and that is your choice, not my choice, but it is your choice, and I respect your choice. So therefore, I ask that you respect mine in this case. Um, mm, Kill Waddle. That's what it was called. So, anyways, um, but yeah, regards to Charizard. Moving on to Generation Two, I was not a Chikorita fan. I did play a playthrough of Heart Gold Soul Silver with Chikorita. It was the shortest playthrough I've ever done. I don't think I made it past the second gym. I was just like, I cannot do the grass Pokemon starter. It just, oh my gosh. I was a huge Cyndaquil fan, and Totodile, honestly. Both of those Pokemon were the choices I chose when playing Heart Gold Soul Silver. If Heart Gold had Totodile as its choice, I chose Cyndaquil and Soul Silver. I always had both those games going with at least one of them because I loved both of those Pokemon. I just did not like Cyndaquil. Um, I'm gonna add another column real quick here, and it's kind of like last minute. I didn't really plan to do this. I'm gonna move Eevee down here because the evolutions I think are in here, and I just need somewhere to put them because I'm not gonna judge them. I plan to one day do a video on basing all the different same Pokemon or evolutionary that goes in two different directions. Like um, Unpheasant has the male and female version. Um, Wobbuffet, um, the evolutions. They each all have their different forms based on which direction you choose. Um, Not regional forms, mind you. I'm not going to base regional forms like Sandshrew Alola versus Sandshrew Kanto. Um, Not that, because those are just completely different. These are just ones that naturally evolve into one form or another based on either a stone or whether they're male or female or whether you're next to a certain thing at a certain time, kind of thing. Um, it's a guess. All right, so moving on to Generation 3. My opinion about Generation 3 has changed over time. Um, Now, as I've said in other videos, I've never played Ruby Sapphire and Emerald when they came out. I have played Emerald, but I didn't play it when it came out. I played Emerald sometime around Black and White, and then somehow lost the game again, which sucks because I enjoyed it. But when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, the remakes, I got real deep into those two games. Like I loved those two remakes. I loved them more than Heart Gold Soul Silver, and I was a fan of Heart Gold Soul Silver. Like I was so ecstatic that Generation One and Two, because they were remakes of Generation Two, and they had one with them, was on the DS. I mean, that was pretty cool to come that far. Um, and then with the remakes of Generation Three, that meant every generation of Pokemon was on the DS in some form, whether it was the remake form or the original form, um, which was awesome. We still don't have that on the Switch, still, which is sad. You think they could come out with some sort of generations 1 through 7 in one game for the Switch? I mean, seriously, people would buy it in droves. I'd be one of them. Seriously, would be. They don't even have to link the games together. They just you load it up and you just pick which one you want to play, kind of thing. Anyways, I'm going off of here. Eh, Back to Ruby and Sapphire. Those two games, I originally was a solid Trico only. The other two starters couldn't just have been Ghost all I cared until Generation 7 came out. I'm not a Lola fan, and I will go into details about Lola later. And, when we get to their starters, but Rowlet was the turning point for me when it came to grass Pokemon. So I had to figure out, Trico isn't on my top three no more. Maybe I should check out the other two. I tried playing with Torchic. I didn't like Torchic. Really didn't like Torchic. And as you can tell, I only have one fire starter up there right now. So I do lean water on most of my Pokemon. But Trico stayed for me in the sense that I'm gonna make a honorary spot for them called top six. I don't know why it moved over like that because I really do like Trico and Grovyle and Sceptile. Like huge fans. Torchic to me was one of those. Oh, it exists. I only need it for the Pokemon Pokédex. Mudkip turned me around to the point that I would actually put him in my top six. I ended up playing several times in a row, restarting and choosing Mudkip and choosing different paths with Mudkip and completely loving it. Like I can't express to you how much I enjoyed playing with Mudkip. Um, and it was a blast. So therefore, I Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire gave me a new eye, a new perspective for that starter, and I greatly appreciate it. So huge fan of both of these. They're in my top six. Um, Now moving into Generation Four. Generation Four is gonna be quick and easy. Um, I will honestly tell you, I have played Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum, as well as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and my choices have always been the same way. They have never changed. They have never faltered. They have never altered. That is exactly how I feel. Chimchar is my top three fire Pokemon, my top three starter Pokemon. If I can get him on my team one way or another, he is on my team. one way or another. Like right now, I'm playing through Paldea Scarlet. I spent 2 days breeding Pokemon in the beginning of the game. After the you do the school scene, I went back to the house, played around in that little area for 2 days, trying to get Chimchar eggs. I was going for a specific, you know, but still, they have Chimchar. I had, and then two other Pokemon. I ended up putting Sprigatito in the bank, but and I like Sprigatito. Sprigatito's cool. It's whatever. But yeah, Chimchar, top three, never falters, never fails. One way or another, he is on my team. That's why I do not like Generation 8. I cannot have Chimchar. I had to choose other fire Pokemon. Ugh. I mean, Scorbunny wasn't bad, but still. Ugh. So moving on to Generation 5. This is going to be where things get interesting. I always chose either Snivy or Oshawott. And the reason why I did that was um, I think I'm gonna have to do this because I don't have the camera space. I want to keep this entire box in view. So let's do this. Okay. So, anyways, I chose Oshwa and I chose um, Snivy, intermediate, in between them, and it worked for me. It really did, and I had no problems with it. And I seriously, that's my you know go to all the time now. Um, Tepeg, and I'm not saying this to be mean. It just wasn't my favorite. No offense to him. Um, it just wasn't my. I don't know how to say it. I just wasn't the thing I chose for when it came to Tepic. Um, so yeah, I had to actually look for Oshawott. Um, so therefore, now yes, I did leave these up here because the top six this can hold 9 comfortably, so I'm not worried about those. But yeah, Tepic, I would say he's okay. I wouldn't say he's great. I wouldn't say that he exists. He has his perks. I do see his strengths. I just was not a fan of, you know, this, so I didn't use that. I was a huge fan of this. Not a fan of this. Um, really wasn't a fan of this either, but whatever. So with that being said, we're now going to go to Generation 6. Generation 5, when we do the entire game here later, in its own video, I will go into more details how much I love Generation 5. As for Generation 6, I was not a fan of Chespin. Chespin was there. Chespin existed. Chespin was something. Chespin was not my choice. Finnegan was the first starter I chose in Generation 6. I chose it once. And sadly, that's was the end of that. Because when I discovered Froakie, because I played X and Y 3 times. I wanted to give all three starters a choice because at the beginning I actually thought all three were kind of cool looking. I was like, okay, I'll do this. I'll play this 3 times in a row. No big deal. I didn't get through halfway through the game with Chessman before I was just annoyed because I couldn't find really any Pokemon I liked to counter him that weren't Generation 1 through 5 Pokemon. I always like to play a playthrough of each new generation with only Pokemon that's in that generation that are new to the generation. So having Zubat or having Litwick or having, you know, Ralts on the team, no, it's not what I do. Even though I like those Pokemon, I don't use them on first time playthroughs. That's why I like Generation 5 so much. It made that so easy. Anyways, back to Fennekin, Froakie, and Chespin. Fennekin is the runner up on Fire Pokemon in some cases, outside of Litten and maybe Cyndaquil, when it comes to replacing Score Bunny, if able. I won't use Charizard or Charmander or Torchic, so ugh, 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 ugh. So, therefore, now that wraps up Generation 6. Generation 7, I don't have really anything nice to say about the generation, other than that it's there. People bought it. I bought it. I bought all 4 of them. Thinking, granted, of course, when I bought the Ultras, I thought, oh, maybe they fixed it. No, they didn't. It is too handholdy to me. Yes, it has a good story. Yes, there are some decent Pokemon. It just holds your hand and guides you for 99% of the game. The only time it isn't literally pushing you to the next spot is when you're trying to get to the next spot to go back to hand holding. So, yeah, I think I've finished the game once since it came out, and it was last year when I finished it, just so I can start catching Ultra Beast. I have never caught an Ultra Beast because I have never finished the game. I have never gotten to the champion level. I have never even gotten to the final Isla because I get so annoyed with the hand holding. So, my gameplay playthrough is very, very rough. But I can tell you now, I have played with all 3 of the starters. I like Litten. Litten's pretty cool. I do not like Puplo. I think it's something that does exist, sadly. And again, as you already know, because I went through that speech about Trico, um, that's the outcome. Um, mm, oh yeah. So therefore, um, looking at this, I'm probably gonna move Cyndaquil up here. There you go. That's fine. Therefore, there's an alternate path. Um, as for Populo and Linton, I like Linton. Linton was pretty cool. He was the first one I chose. When I played the other one, I chose Populo, and I kind of went back and forth between these two because the fat little round bird just wasn't doing it for me. And then I finally decided I needed to give it a chance because I did. I do give all the starters a chance except for Charmander now. So I gave it a chance, and it ended up moving Trico down to the top 6, in my opinion. Mostly because of this one, this right here, this bird right here. Um, all 3 of these are my favorite. This is just my favorite. These 2 exist. so therefore, that's what I do. Generation 8. I know that's gonna make people cry, throw a fit, storm out the hills. Um, but this is my opinion, and this is generally the order how I view these Pokemon. I don't care really for any of the three, but if I have to choose which one is the best, I generally lean to Sobble. I think that's the thing. So yeah. Um, but Score Bunny and Grookey is. I do play a lot of playthroughs with Score Bunny. I do like one of its fire moves. Um, but that's generally because I can't get certain fire Pokemon into the game to replace him. So, because I've tried, it doesn't work. All because Generation 4 was going through a remake at the same time Generation was out. So the Generation 4 didn't get any love in that generation, and its remakes didn't get any love either. So, we all know that. All right, Generation 9. Um, yeah. Um, Not sure why this tier thing has these two with white boxes, but it is what it is. But yeah, Sprigatito is pretty cool. Fuecoco, I okay. I'll be fair. I think he's okay. I think he's better than this monstrosity. Um, he was, yeah. So yeah, and then lastly, the starters from X or Legends Arceus. I'm just moving them up real quick so I can move this back up. Okay. Contrary to where they are on here, their normal forms does not mean this is where they're at in reality for me. Like I did, this thing existed. It went from top three to here for me. This was, I would say, top six worthy, and this was also top six worthy. I generally, if I can catch one of these, um, in the game, these went to the chest, the field, because something. I did not like the final forms. I mean, I liked these two final forms. I hated this final form. So yeah. Now, people, this is my opinion. That does not mean this is your opinion. This does not mean this is your thoughts. But I do want to say this is how I feel about the starters. Um, and frankly, I do like a lot of the starters. Everything from okay up, I can use, play through, have on my team without not playing the game at all. Everything for they exist. Oh, they exist in. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put you there. I want this to be just yeah. All three of those can be there. And the thing is at one point I would have had Charmander where it says great, but they kept shoving it down our throats. You get them as a starter choice in Generation 6. You can get them in Generation 7. Yeah, freaking right. Your like champion has it as its mascot in Generation 8. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it. You love Charizard. There are other starters. We're in Generation 9, and people still walk around with the Charizard. There are other starters. They can bring them about. All the starters are in Generation 9. All of them. And I have a feeling when Generation 10 comes out, all the starters are going to be there in some form or fashion. And frankly, I'm hoping that's true. I hope all the Pokemon are in Generation 10. I mean, it's been a while since we've had all the Pokemon in one game in one way or another. And frankly, I think it's about time. I mean, if you got time to make some extra megas, which by the way, I love the new megas for ZA. You got some time to add all the Pokemon. And frankly, at this point, I think they need to make a new game, a new region. Zzz. You play through one region, you play through the next, you play through the next, and you earn the entire regional crown, championship trophy, whatever, by winning each one of those regions' championships. And it needs to be like 10 regions. The games are, can do that now. You can have more in it. And if you need to, travel like Ash. Bring your Pikachu with you everywhere you go and then collect all the Pokemon in the new region. And that's really what they need to do with generations 1 through 7 at this point. Is you start in Kanto and you bust your way through Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, or sorry, Johto, Kanto, Ho. Nah, I'm just out of whack. Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, and Alola. And when you're done with Alola, it's because you're creating the league there that you become the championship. But in a sense, once that's done, you go back through and you challenge all seven or all the other six champions to become the world reigning champ. Forget Galar, forget Paldea. If you want them included, then you can import to those two games and do their playthroughs. Paldea to me broke the whole traveling from here to here to here on a set path. It broke that because the open world. Not knocking the open world, I like the open world. It gave more freedom for exploration, and it did bottleneck in places where it needed to keep you from getting too far, and that was fine. I mean, you technically once you get past the school, you can go anywhere in the game without any stop. Will you survive in some places? No, but you can go anywhere in the game. In some places you can't get to at all because you don't have either the HM or the TM or the ability to scale walls with your riding Pokemon. So, you know, there are limits, but very few. Whereas everything prior had limits, had a path. It's like, okay, I'm here, you pull up the map, I gotta go there. And that's where you go. You pull up Paldea, it's like, I'm here, I got to go somewhere. So, but with the starters, this is how I feel about the starters. I know I rambled on a little bit longer than I intended to on this episode, and I apologize. I hope you do like the episode though, because it was a lot of fun. And trust, there will be more game episodes coming out soon. I'm just waiting for certain things to release to have them out. Because I kind of don't want to start something and have to pause it for a while. I did that with Jurassic World, and I just ended up having to say those are just done. Um, because yeah, my OBS does not like Jurassic World in any way, shape, or form. Does not like that game. I can reward any other game except for OBS on Jurassic World. So Jurassic World is done. Um, Jurassic World 2 is done. Let's finish the challenge episodes on that one. So we did finish where we need to on that one. At this point, I'm gonna declare all other series complete, other than what we're working on right here, these tier lists. Um, and we're gonna go from there. So with that, folks, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching this episode with me, or watching this with me. Thank you for watching this episode. As you know, there are other many options, and you chose this one, and I appreciate it. But be sure to hit that subscribe button. Um, that was at the beginning of the video here, and definitely hit that like button. Hitting that like button lets me know that I'm on the right path with everyone, and to keep doing what I'm doing. So it kind of gives me feedback. And the best way to give feedback, though, is to leave me a comment. Something to let me know I'm on the right path here. I'm trying my hardest here. This is a one man show, and I really would love for this to take off. I really would love to eventually start having, sponsorships and giveaways and stuff like that. And it's on my plans to do. But until this channel has a lot more subscribers, I'm kind of limited in what I can do. So come on, guys, hit that button. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a great day. Later.